Hi everyone, just before we get into the review, I would like to say that I spoil some plot points, so if that's really important for you, I would suggest that you go see the film before you watch this video. I don't think plot in a film like this is overly important. I think it's more about what it says for the characters, for the meaning of the film, but again, if that's really vitally important for you, then watch the movie before you watch this review. With that, let's get started. Ad Astra is directed by James Gray, and it stars Brad Pitt, Ruth Negga, Donald Sutherland, and Tommy Lee Jones. Brad Pitt stars as astronaut Roy McBride, who we first see working on the International Space Antenna, which is this sort of super giant antenna that reaches up into the Earth's upper atmosphere. He's up there following in the footsteps of his father, a legendary astronaut that left him and his family some 30 years ago on an expedition to Neptune with the goal of contacting extraterrestrial life, and he's never been heard of since. Much like Icarus, whose father had also, in a sense, given him wings, he commences his journey by crashing down to Earth. But McBride is such an exceptional astronaut, and he's modeled himself after his father to be a stoic, collected, rational individual. He's thus able to maintain his calm and deploy his parachute and land onto Earth. Of course, him being such an emotionless, cold, almost robotic individual means he's had a tremendous difficulty connecting in his relationships, but that's also the reason that he's extraordinarily proficient at his job. After the incident and he's healed up, he's called upon by his superiors on a top secret mission to travel to Mars, which is the furthest point in the solar system that has been colonized by humanity, in order to contact his father, whom is actually believed to be alive. So he does as he's told, and as he reaches his destination, he begins to understand that he's nothing more than an errand boy.
You're an errand boy, sent by grocery clerks to collect a bill.
And much like Marlowe trudging up the river in search of Kurtz, McBride embarks on a journey to the furthest regions of the explored universe in search of his father. Ad Astra is a quite sublime film, and certainly the most visually striking I've seen all year, brilliantly photographed by the amazing cinematographer Hoyt van Hoytema. Much like in First Man, where Armstrong had to travel to the furthest and loneliest place in the universe in order to overcome his grief, Pitt here has to undergo a similar voyage in order to understand, in order to come to the realization that he doesn't want to be the man that he is, that he doesn't want to become the man that his father was, and yet who is the person that he most resembles. And I think that's really interesting in the way that it sort of depicts masculinity. For, a very long time, coldness, rationality, and machine-like thinking have been presented as virtues. And while the film doesn't shy away from the fact that that's really what makes them exceptional at their profession, they also take the time to explore how that affects the people around them, but more importantly, also how it makes them suffer as individuals themselves. Now, the Oedipal quest for the father type story is a very worn-out trope at this point, but there's a reason that it is, and that's because it works extraordinarily well. And in a sense, it's perfectly in line with Gray's filmography, which has always been about family. It also makes a tremendously coherent double bill with Gray's previous film, The Lost City of Z, which depicted also a father figure who was an explorer who was continuously frustrated by the interruptions of his voyage to the Amazon by having to go back home for whatever reason, and was a character that was at his happiest when he was out there exploring the Amazon forest and really suffered in his domestic life. And that could almost be Tommy Lee Jones's character in this film. And of course, within this Heart of Darkness type structure that Ad Astra adopts, it almost takes on this more mystical, almost quasi-religious type pursuit. I think this is at its most evident later on during a conversation between Tommy Lee Jones and Brad Pitt, where Jones explains that he searched and searched and searched for intelligent life and yet found nothing, thus the mission was a failure. To which Pitt responds that it wasn't a failure, that the fact that he found nothing was the success. You found out there's nothing else, and that we're all we have. And that makes the film profoundly atheist or agnostic, this idea of nothingness, and that what matters and what is precious is what's here and now, not so much what could be. I have to say that originally upon leaving the theater, I had some small reservations regarding the integration of the action scenes, which I don't feel are all that necessary to the film, and also with the ending. There are some rumors going around that the film was victim of studio intervention, and that Gray, at certain points, isn't too happy with certain elements. And I suppose that with a $100 million studio sci-fi film, that's always going to happen. I also imagine that the Fox-Disney merger that happened around the time the film was in post-production is probably no stranger to this phenomenon. But I have to say that a few days removed from the screening, all of a sudden the action scenes don't really bother me so much, even though I still feel they're unnecessary. What's really left, though, is the sort of grandiose beauty of the film that has really stuck with me for numerous days. And as far as the ending goes, yes, it's a little schmaltzier and happier than pretty much any of Gray's previous films. However, I will say that it doesn't lose its thematic coherence, which for me is vitally important. And again, like I've already mentioned, it's a film that I've thought a lot about during the passing days, which is certainly the sign of something very special. So as always, thank you very much for watching the video. Please be sure to hit the like button if you like the review, subscribe if you're new, and until next time, see ya.